Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
All right. Would you state your name and your number for the record, please?
Jacob Noelting-Petra, 6673738.
Great. Thank you. Today is Thursday, January 6th. The time is approximately 12:03 p.m. And the interview for Jacob Noelting-Petra, you said Petra?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Petra is called to order. So the board received your application for commutation and made a decision to grant you an interview. Per Administrative Rule 14.51B, the non-A Class A applicant needs at least 3 out of the 5 board members to support the application in order for the board's formal recommendation to the governor to be in favor of commutation. The board will deliberate today and make a record of the vote of recommendation to the governor. I'm Kim Ream, and I'm chairing today's hearing. Will the board members please introduce themselves alphabetically?
Thomas Darden. Ralph Haskins.
Renee Schulte.
Susie Wynock. Thank you, colleagues. This interview with the board is public. There may be supporters, the media, and other visitors on the line. Do you understand, Jacob?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And do you wish to continue?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Is there any medical, psychological, or physical reason that the board should know about that would make you incapable of participating or limit your ability to participate in this interview today?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any other reasons the board should know about that would hinder you from participating in the interview?
No, there's not.
Thank you. Pursuant to Iowa Code Section 915.18, the victim's family and our victims' advocates are allowed to participate. At this time, Ms. J, do they wish to make a statement?
I'll
This is
defer to
Ms.
Ms.
Ricks.
Ricks. Yep.
Oh, sorry. This is
Okay.
Ms. Ricks, and there are no statements at this time.
No statements today. Thank you.
I would like to ask the people that just joined to please shut off their camera.
Thank you, Ms. J. Jacob, would you like to make a statement as to why the board should make a positive recommendation to the governor on your behalf?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Before I get started, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity. And no matter the outcome today, I appreciate your time, your consideration, and all that I've been able to learn from this experience. It has been a very humbling and very rewarding experience, regardless of what outcome comes. From early on in my prison sentence, I realized that this is not what I wanted to do. Now, I was in a bit of a predicament because I just put myself in a place that I was going to be stuck at for a very long time. But instead of allowing my circumstances to dictate what I can and cannot do, I said I can change who I am, maybe not where I'm at. So I took that upon myself to be very vigilant on everything, on noticing all the possibilities, all of the programming, because prison offers a lot of different programs, but no one's going to make you take them. No one's going to force you to better yourself, and even if they did, you're not going to truly better yourself until you want to better yourself. So from early on, I realized that I want something different, and I took it upon myself to demand more of myself. That process didn't come easy. It didn't come right away. There were some bumps along the road. But I took it very seriously because I wanted to be more than just an inmate. I didn't want to allow prison to define who I was in a negative way. So I embarked on a mission to become more than that. I wanted to be a man. I wanted to learn how to do that. I wanted to become a son. I wanted to be a friend. I wanted to be a father. And these are all things that I had to take time and put careful and deliberate attention into getting it accomplished. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself, and I know that I was going to need help because I wasn't sure which route to take. I wasn't sure how to do it. And I know I needed help to get the skills that I needed to be successful in this life. And again, prison has a lot of things to offer. And so I started to take advantage of all of them. It started with the Grinnell College program in Newton Correctional Facility. This was a one-year program, and I'm very fortunate to have been a part of it. But I took it so seriously, and it laid the groundwork. It gave me all of the foundation of my pursuit of education. And I not only took that 1 year seriously, but I'm very proud to say that I actually took it and made it a 2-year program because I was refusing to quit. I just would not stop. I wanted to get as much education as I could. And that pursuit of education has become evident in everything that I've done because I try to do as much as possible. But when I got to Fort Dodge, there was more actual education opportunities through Iowa Central Community College. I've been able to complete my AA. I've completed the accounting program here. I've done the business program, and I'm currently in the carpentry program, all of which I'm very proud to say I've maintained straight A's throughout. There are more than just the college. I've also been able to be a part of Toastmasters because I know that it's so important to be able to speak with people, to be a leader, to learn those skills. When I joined Toastmasters, I was very afraid of public speaking. And to be honest, I'm a little nervous today. You know, it's a different setting. But I try to face my fears. I try to be proactive and say, you know, this is one of my weaknesses. How can I get better at it? I joined Toastmasters to do that. And when I started, the membership was very low because of the COVID limitations. And I'm proud to say that since taking over as president, our memberships went from 8 to 10 people one time a week at our meetings to now it is flourishing at 25 to 30 at 2 meetings a week. And it just continues to grow. Something I'm very proud. The environment in there is so amazing. The atmosphere is it's such an amazing group. I recommend so many people to go through it. And so I'm very proud to say that I'm the Toastmasters president, that I'm pushing that program on other people, and that everyone is taking that very seriously. I've been able to be a part of different woodworking programs and learn trades. I've been very fortunate to be able to be a part of several different volunteer services that I didn't even realize, but until recently, trying to figure out roughly how much money I've helped raise. We're up in upwards of $100,000 in the last 6 years since being at Fort Dodge, where they really offer different volunteer outlets. I've done leader dogs. I've done so many things. I'm very proud of all of the things that I've been able to do. But what is it like? I ask myself, what is it that why do these things make me credible or worthy of a recommendation from you guys? And what it is these are all things that I've gained. These are skills that I've learned, tools that I've gained to continue to grow when I get to the community. These are things that are going to help me not only reintegrate myself back into society, but to thrive into society. So you asked me, why should the Board of Parole give a positive recommendation? Say because I'm ready and I've gained the tools necessary. I've taken things very seriously, and over a course of a very long time, I've shown that I'm very prepared and I'm very ready for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start with, let's go back in time a little bit and share with the board what was going on in your life at the time that this crime occurred.
Yes, ma'am. So I've often thought about this mindset over the course of the 11 years I've been incarcerated on why I was okay with doing the things that I was doing and going on the route that I was going down. The one common theme that I've been able to pull from all of those reflections is I was idolizing somebody that I shouldn't have been idolizing. Now, that's not to blame anybody but myself. I'm just trying to put myself in that mindset. I was idolizing someone that I shouldn't have, and that person was my dad, Michael Petra. Now, I lost my dad to suicide when I was 8 years old while he was in county jail facing a first-degree robbery charge. At the time, I didn't realize the impact that that truly had on me because I never emotionally or mentally came to terms with this. I wasn't equipped to handle those things, and I didn't even understand how deep that wound cut me. But growing up, I had the adults in my life tell me the stories about my dad. They told me about who he was, and again, I'm not placing blame on anybody, but some of the stories that I got glorified some of the negative things that he did, that he was a fighter, he was hot-tempered, that he didn't take stuff from nobody. And I started to create an image of what a man was supposed to be like. And I wanted to be like him. I thought that that's what I should be like. I should be the next Michael Petra. I didn't realize that I was going down that path. I was too impulsive and too narrow-sighted at the time. But upon reflection, I've noticed that I was trying to be him. I was trying to make my dad proud because I didn't realize that him deciding to choose drugs over me or to take his own life caused self-worth and abandonment issues for myself. And for some reason, I decided that I was going to try to become him. I was going to try to make him proud, to be in the image of who my dad was, to maybe be enough for him. These decisions pushed me down a path that hurt people, that was very selfish. Again, I was very narrow-sighted. I was very just channeled into what affects me and me alone. I also tried to justify my actions at the time because I thought, oh, I robbed a drug dealer. It's not that bad. He's breaking the law, so it's not so bad what I'm doing. I no longer feel that way. I obviously see that my actions are inexcusable, and I hurt so many people in the process of it. But during that time, very selfish. I was young. I was immature. I was chasing a ghost and trying to fill shoes of someone that I shouldn't have. And it pushed me down a path that I shouldn't have been going. Thank you.
Just a reminder, if you are not a member of the Board of Parole conducting this interview or a part of the Department of Corrections, you need to have your cameras off and you need to have your microphones muted. Okay, sorry for the interruption there. So I think you kind of addressed this in one of your earlier answers, but what are your plans if the governor should commute your sentence and you were to receive a release? What is it that you plan to do?
Thank you, ma'am. I have several plans in place because it's my understanding that the governor could go a few different routes if she decides to commute my sentence. If she decided to remove my mandatory and have me go through the traditional parole process, I wouldn't change a thing that I've been doing. I would continue to push myself and thrive in every single possible program, school, education, positive interactions with anybody that I can while in prison. I would continue my education. Again, I'm currently in the carpentry program. I really enjoy that. It's through Iowa Central. I would continue to try to build the membership of Toastmasters because, again, I see how impactful that is. I see how much it changes people's perspectives on a day-to-day, and it gives them something to really look forward to and push themselves into something positive. I would continue to build on my relationships with my family, specifically with my daughter, who's 11 years old. Her name's Aaliyah. I'm very fortunate to have a very good relationship with her. I call her every single night. It's my highlight of my day every single day. And I'm so very fortunate and proud to be able to say that I have that relationship, even though I've been locked up for basically the entirety of her life. I would also ask my counselor, Ms. Cook, on what type of direction or route she thinks would be the best route to go to continue my process in the parole process and seeing this board. if the governor decided to remove my mandatory and wanted me to go to a work release, I would begin my employment immediately. I'm very fortunate to have the support system that I have. I have a employment verification letter included in my commutation through Gray Transportation. I'd be a trailer mechanic. I'd start off working 40-hour weeks, Monday through Friday, and making around $16 an hour. Again, I'm very fortunate to be able to step out and have immediate employment. That takes a lot of load of and stress off of me. So my main goal, if I'm in the work release or the halfway house, would be financial stability. I do not want to be a burden on my loved ones, although they would never call it that, because again, I'm so very fortunate to have the amazing people around me. I would not be as good of a person I am today without the great support that I have around me. But financial stability, working on reintegrating myself into my family, because I've been gone for a long time, and I know it's not just a process for me, but it's a process for them too. That it's not just going to be having me figure out how to be around them in a very open environment, but it's also them having me around again, because I've been gone for a very long time. I know that there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of new stuff going on. No one's saying this is going to be an easy process for me, and I welcome that challenge. But instead of only depending on my family, only depending on my loved ones, I've also reached out to a therapist out of Covenant Medical Center in Waterloo, since that's where I'd be going. Her name's Rachel Dolph, to have someone that I can talk to as in a professional manner, just to make sure that I'm reintegrating myself in a way that is conducive to the best way that I can succeed. And my last plan would be is if the governor decided to grant me an immediate release or a straight parole, I would be living with my grandparents, Donna and Rick Barta. They are retired. They are huge supporters. They've been there. They're my advocates for as long as I can remember. They live out in the country, which would allow me to really reach back into living in society at my own pace. Like I could go into work and I could do the things I need to do, but I also wouldn't just be thrust in the middle of town. I could kind of integrate myself as I pleased on my free time to make sure that I am prepared for all of the new changes. I can take these changes at my own pace. My grandparents are amazing people, and they're going to help me in every single way that I need. And so that is why I chose them, because the places that I have to go is endless. I have, again, so many people, but I chose them because they will be able to be there in an everyday setting as they are retired. They are prepared to make sure that anything that I need to get back on my feet, it will be provided for. Again, I'll be working at Gray Transportation. That won't change. School is a very big thing for me. My pursuit for education has been something that I've fallen in love with. I want to finish school. I want to get my bachelor's degree. I've reached out to UNI. They have a part-time hybrid class for business administration, which is what I want to get my bachelor's in, where it's partly online, partly on campus, and the on-campus classes are actually at night, so it would work around my full-time work schedule. I initially thought that I wanted to go to school full-time and work full-time, and I had these great ideas of being able to handle all these things, and upon further reflection and talking with my support system, we decided that I should do a part-time schooling, because yes, it is very important to me and I want to get into it right away, but part-time schooling, full-time job, so that way I can again reintegrate myself back into society in a pace that is comfortable instead of overwhelming myself with too much. That's something that I've seen over the years, is people try to jump back into their old life and they try to hit the ground running and they try to move too fast and they overwhelm themselves and they come back to prison. And that's not something that I'm going to do. I've prepared for this. I've seen people's mistakes and I've learned from their mistakes. So again, I would also like to see this therapist, because there's going to be a lot of new changes and it shouldn't solely sit on my family. And outside of the therapist and my family for support, I would like to have some community support. And so I know that Toastmasters has a chapter out of Waterloo that I would love to be a part of. My membership fee is already paid for, and so I'd be welcome with open arms. They would be able to provide several different people and like mentors who are not only doing the right thing in life, but are willing to help me get back on my feet and point me in the right direction. Maybe introduce me to future employers and things of that nature. There's also a program specifically for felons that I've looked into. It's called One City out of Waterloo, Iowa. And they also offer programs such as mentors and meeting with future possible employers in the area or area resources. And it's strictly for people coming out of prison. And again, my focus is getting back into my family, because that is my core, that is my support. Being a part of my daughter's life every single day, again, that needs to come at a pace that she's comfortable with too. So figuring out that balance of being there and showing my daughter that I'm here, although I've been there throughout this time through the phone and through the visiting room, it's a very different environment. It's a very different thing. And so I want to make sure that she understands that, and I want to reintegrate myself back into her life in the right way. So those are my plans, and I'm prepared to adhere to any single one of them. I've shown over the course of a very long time that I'm fully equipped to follow a plan and to excel at that plan. Thank you.
You're welcome. At this time, I would like to ask my fellow board members if they have any questions for you, Jacob, or if they would like to ask you for any clarification. Colleagues?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Darden.
It's actually Ralph Haskins.
Oh, my
sorry.
apologies.
So Jacob, let's just take a little step back in history, and let's talk a little bit about the crime itself, okay?
Okay.
So it's my understanding that you helped plan this robbery by going to that location the day before. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did not have permission to enter into that house. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you intended to steal when you got there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what does that constitute in terms of a crime? First degree burglary, possibly?
First degree burglary or first degree robbery, because I forcibly took something from somebody.
What about the gun? Tell me about the gun.
The gun, although I didn't have it, I'm just as guilty as everyone involved because there was a gun present. We went there with the intent to steal, and just because I wasn't the one that brandished the gun doesn't mean that I'm any less guilty than the person that did. I was ransacking the house while my two co-defendants, John Trell and Chris, held Amanda and John at gunpoint. I'm fairly certain that John Trell was the one that was holding the gun while I was doing that, but I am just as guilty as everyone that was a part of that, because we went with the intent to break the law, to steal drugs and money, and just because I didn't hold the gun doesn't mean that I'm any less guilty than the person that did.
I think Lucier was actually the one that had prints on the gun, if you go back and look at the minutes of the trial.
Okay.
Is that how you say his name, Lucier?
Yes, sir.
So what was your relationship with those two individuals that committed the crime with you?
So actually, I really didn't have too much of a relationship with either one of them. I met John Trell once before that on passing, but I never actually even had a conversation with him. That was Chris's friend. I knew Chris as someone I bought drugs from. I bought weed from him. And again, I wasn't that familiar with him either. It was more just I'd come over, I'd buy a little weed, and then I left. It just so happened that this was happening. The plan that I had fell out, and I told Chris about it, and he was willing to be a participant with it. And he's the one that called John Trell saying, I have a friend, and brought him along. So I really don't know John Trell, and I vaguely knew Chris before, but it was my idea.
So it was your idea to do the robbery?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you know they had a gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's fast forward to some of the things that you've done in terms of treatment. What things have you learned since you've been in prison that could have potentially make you change from that person that committed that crime?
Thank you, sir. So I've learned a lot, obviously, over this time. I've gained confidence. I've learned that I'm determined and I'm focused and I'm goal oriented. But the things that stand out the most that really helped shape who I am and laid the foundation to really change the person from who I was to the person that I wanted to become and the person that I am today is realizing that not everything is about me. I used to really feel that my actions were my own and it didn't really matter if it affected anybody else because I was so narrow-minded. I was so focused on just how it affected me, and that caused a lot of problems. My selfishness pushed me into different things, and again, I hurt people in that process. But learning that not everything was about me really helped me see the magnitude of my actions. It helped me see that my negative actions at the time had a ripple effect on people that I didn't even think that it would touch. Not only did it just hurt John and Amanda on my bad actions, but it hurt their family, it hurt their friends, and I never would have took the time to realize how selfish I was and how my mindset was truly trying to justify my actions at the time. And I've also learned too that I can't do everything on my own. I used to think that it was very weak to ask for help, that I should be able to do it, and because I pride myself on being independent and driven. But I no longer see asking for help as a weakness. I actually see it as a strength to be able to learn from others, because now I can ask for help, I can take guidance, I can learn from others. I also am not afraid to take advice even when I don't ask for it. Sorry, excuse me. I understand that I can't do everything on my own and that things aren't all about me, that my actions do have consequences, that they hurt others. Once I really started realizing that and seeing that I have the power to be impactful to others, either in a negative way or in a positive way, I've chosen the positive sense. I've seen that same ripple effect of potential on touching people, on changing people, on affecting people's lives works just as well with positive actions as it does with negative actions. And since then, I've tried to do nothing but positive actions.
Along that line, you said you're enrolled. I guess I have a question for you. Maybe you can educate me. During COVID, how did COVID had an impact on the things that you did while you're incarcerated?
Yeah, so COVID did have a big wrinkle on the programs available here. It basically locked down the institution. There used to be Leader Dog for the Blind program here, which I was a part of. I've raised 3 dogs successfully, and I'm very proud to have been able to not only be a part of that program, but also know that those dogs are changing someone's life right now, helping them live their day-to-day. But so they took that program out completely since COVID. They took it out at first because they were thinking just the dogs, they wanted to lock us in ourselves and try to mitigate the spread of COVID. And so they got rid of the dogs and they just never decided to bring it back. Again, Toastmasters was not a thing. Any religious groups or self-help groups were suspended for about a year because they didn't want any mingling. We were basically restricted to our living house, our living house, our cell house, sorry. And it was very trying because anything that positive, school, programming, Leader Dog, all of it, it was basically on a halt, and it was just depend on yourself. I did a lot of reading during that time. I focused on building my relationship with my family, but COVID did have a very big impact on this place, and this place still has not been able to recover from that impact either. We still have no outside guests. Toastmasters used to have very respected members of the community come in and speak and try to give guidance, and we still are not allowed for that. There used to be chaplains to come in and speak at different services, though they still no outside guests. They also suspended our visits. Both video visits weren't a thing before COVID, but all in-person visits were suspended, and that puts a big mental strain on everybody, not just the inmates, but also on our families too, because they really rely on that physical contact with their loved ones as well. We have since been able to bring back in-person visits, and the video visits have stayed, which are amazing. As I work in the visiting room, I am able to see the interactions and see like the joy of being able to see your house that you haven't seen in 10 years, to be able to walk through and see things that you haven't seen, the dog that you haven't been able to see run around in the yard. Like the video visits were a very amazing thing. Plus people outside, like out of state visitors who don't get to come in very often are now readily able to have visits. And so although the prison hasn't been able to fully recover from the impact that COVID has had, like they are trying. They do have some things. The self-help groups were allowed to do again. The video visits and in-person visits have come, but they have restricted. They still do have some restrictions.
So during that time, how did you use your time?
So when we were restricted to our unit, I did a lot of reading, and I'm more of a fiction person, or nonfiction person. I apologize, nonfiction than a fiction. I really needed the mental outlet. I struggled mentally during that time, being locked down for a long time, because I've been so focused on moving forward, at having tasks in front of me, being able to accomplish it forward. And so when they took that away, I had idle hands. I wasn't sure what to do with myself, and I struggled. What am I supposed to do? And so that is when I dug into my support group. I spoke with my mom and my girlfriend and my grandmother and my child on almost a daily occasions, just to continue to build that and to have that outlet to try to continue to better myself, to continue my positive mindset, because it was a hard time here. It was a very negative environment. And so I just tried my very best to stay out of that negative environment, that negative mindset, and continue to learn from the people who I trust that are going to guide me in the right way, to give me the right advice. And once we were opened up a little more, I've taken every single opportunity I can that they brought back. When school came back, I went and I graduated with my AA. I became the president of Toastmasters. I've recently enrolled into the carpentry program through Iowa Central as well. I've continued to, I finished my book work for my apprenticeship for carpentry during that time too. So I've tried to use that time as best as I could under the circumstances.
And I didn't see any negative generic notes or any disciplines during that time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I appreciate you answering these questions for me today. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. Other colleagues?
Yes, I have just a couple of questions for Mr. Noelting-Petra. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I want to take you back a little bit. You started drinking at an early age, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What age was that?
12 or 13-ish. I started smoking marijuana at that time too.
So you were drinking and using marijuana?
Yes, sir.
You went to school drunk, didn't you?
I have before, yes.
Yeah. Well, first, let me just say this first, because I think this is important. I want to commend you for at least the outward appearance of changing who you are. Many times we see people that come to us, obviously, wishing for an opportunity to reunite with loved ones and re-enter society. But their mindset is not ready for that. You've done a tremendous job of having a mind that is now based on positive things, and I'm hopeful, loving things rather than negative things. So I wanted to commend you on that first, all right?
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, back to the substance. You had that evaluation in 2007. What did they find in that evaluation from your perspective?
You know, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure. This is a very long time ago. Was this a drug evaluation that you're asking about?
Yes, you had a substance abuse evaluation in 2007 by Pathways.
Okay.
And the reason I bring that up, because I want you to remember, how did that end? You had a relationship with Pathways.
Yes, I did have a relationship with Pathways, and I do vaguely recall the interview, not the specifics of it, but like being a part of that. I know at that time I was rebelling. I was trying not to, I was so anti-authority. I'm smarter than everybody else. I'm going to go by my own path. This is what I'm going to do. And I wanted, again, I was very closed-minded. It was what is happening today. And what I was worried about at that time was getting high or getting drunk or some sort of substance abuse. And I'm not particularly sure how that meeting ended, but I know that I didn't take that seriously at that time. And because I didn't, it led to a further spiral down into more drugs and more alcohol. And it ultimately led me to making more bad decisions to what landed me in prison.
Well, one of the things I think I read where you had urine in your jacket, you would use someone else's urine to pass your test.
Yes,
you
sir.
also put niacin in your urine to try to, fool the authorities from that perspective. I guess what I'm trying to say is you had a long history of deception and not following the rules, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, did I read also that your mother also was a marijuana user? Is that correct?
She used to be, and when she was younger.
So this has been really a part of your life for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Am I to feel comfortable that today there is no way that you would revert to utilizing substances again?
Yes, you should feel comfortable because I've shown over a long period of time that substances are not what is important to me anymore. There's no shortage of drugs in prison, as I'm sure you guys are all aware. And I choose every single day to stay away from that. Not because I'm worried about getting in trouble or because of this or that. Obviously, those are things that are on the back of my mind, but it's because I have no desire for that. I've went down that path. I've seen the things that come out of it, and I've tried to change it. Like I don't have the desire to continue to be an abuser of substances. I've had several conversations with my loved ones that I don't even like the idea of the occasional beer at home because it's just not my scene anymore. I've went down that. I've done the partying. I've lived that lifestyle, and I've learned that that's not the lifestyle I want. I know what I want in life now, and that has no place in it. That is not going to lead me to where I'm at. I'm clear-minded and focused, and that's only going to stop and hinder me if I would even think about trying to do drugs or alcohol.
So tell me about your relationship with your daughter. Do you have a relationship with her mother?
Yes, I'm so thankful and very fortunate that I have a very good relationship with not only my daughter, Aaliyah, but I also do have a relationship with her mom, Melinda, and her dad, Corey. And I say dad, which is probably kind of confusing, but Melinda's husband has been there since I've been incarcerated. And he's been the father figure. And he's been called dad. And so I've embraced that. Instead of making her feel awkward, we're both dad. And we've had conversations, and I actually have a good working relationship with Corey. I call him, I've called Melinda, I call Aaliyah. We are a unit. We are a three parent unit, and we try to have the best interest for Aaliyah. I put my pride to the side, and although it was not easy for me to go, okay, that's your dad too, and like to have my daughter call another man dad. It was something that was a struggle for me, but at the end, what's important is not my feelings, but Aaliyah's feelings. And so to make her feel comfortable and not make her feel awkward of like, oh, do I call him Corey? Do I call him dad? That's your dad, and I'm your dad too, and that's your mom, and we are a unit. And so I'm very fortunate to have a working relationship with both Melinda and Corey, to be able to have the outlet to and the presence in my daughter's life every day. My parents are both involved in Aaliyah's life too, so they're part of my grandparents. We are a very good group, and again, I'm so thankful that I have the support that I do, the people around me, because it has helped me grow into the man that I am today, and to accept some of those things that maybe aren't the easiest thing to accept, like having another man call my child dad, having my child call another man dad. But I know that's what's necessary, because again, it's not all about me. It's so much more than what my feelings are.
Last thing, since you already have your AA, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to pursue your bachelor's degree, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider going further than a bachelor's in business?
I would love to do that. My goal is at least a master's, but I have to have short-term goals that are manageable. My long-term goal is to have at least a master's in business. I want to own my own company. I don't want to just live life. I want to thrive in life, and I will thrive in life. I just need the opportunity to get out there and do it. Whether it happens in the near future or in 6.5 years, I'm going to thrive in life. I have made that decision that I will not accept failure. School is very important to me, and I've taken it very seriously. I've set a standard that A's are all that I'll accept. It took a little bit of learning in my Grinnell days to go from not paying attention, showing up to school drunk at high school, to then when I started Grinnell, it took a little bit to learn how school actually is when you take it serious, to get the studying down, to take notes, to write papers. But once I did that and I got that little taste of accomplishment, it boosted my confidence and it lit a fire in me that it's like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And since then, I've maintained straight A's. That is something that I will continue to maintain. That is a goal for myself because I know I'm capable of that. So a master's degree certainly is in my future.
Okay. Well, I thank you for answering my questions. I have no further questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. Any other colleagues? Okay. Jacob, we did receive a letter from the Department of Corrections. It does not contain any kind of a recommendation from the warden one way or the other. So I'm not going to refer to it further, but a letter came outlining, your case and so forth. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the board before we call for a vote?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I've tried to lay out all the positive things that I've done throughout my incarceration, the change in my mindset, the skills that I've learned and obtained and honed and tried to master. And what I'd like to try to leave you all with is that I've done that, and I started doing that well before I knew or even heard of what a commutation was, because I didn't do it for the possibility of getting out of prison early. I didn't do it because I thought it would look really good to other people. I did it because I wanted to change my life. And I've been doing that for the last 11 years. And I'm so ready. I've gathered the skills. I've learned how to conduct myself at a very professional level. And I'm blessed to say that all the people that I interact with, staff, people that are in here, they hold me in very high regard. And it's because my change is sincere. It's because I've learned those skills, and it's because I'm ready. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I think this has been a positive interview for you, and regardless of the outcome, I think you are on a very good path. And the governor, regardless of the vote of the board today, the governor is the only person with the authority, to commute your sentence to a term of years and so forth. But, from the perspective of the Board of Parole, I'm very encouraged by the change that we see in you today. And I hope that that you will keep the positivity, and, regardless of the outcome, that you will continue to work hard on your own behalf. I would now like to call for the board members to make any additional comments and to give their votes. I will start in alphabetical order, please, with Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Ms. Rain. As I sat back and listened to this young man, to me, this is why I'm on this. I want to see people change. And I want to see young people grab hold of life and try to make the best from a poor situation to a better situation. And at this point, obviously we don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident that this young man has done that. And I wish him all the best. If he continues to keep that mindset that he has, he will reach and attain the goals that he has for himself. And I will vote yes to the governor to commute his sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. Mr. Haskins?
Thank you, Miss. When I received the commutation application for review to determine whether or not to grant an interview, my comments when I was done reviewing it was simply a productive engagement in improving life. And I think that's what you've done. I'm looking at the facts that you have a treatment plan in place. You have an overall good plan. You have support in the community. You've used your time wisely. Even during COVID, when I hear a lot of people making excuses, you took the time to read and to work on your carpentry certification. You're realistic, I think, in your goals. You've got employment. And the other thing that's really important is you've invested in other people through Toastmasters and your other activities like the dogs. People traditionally that perform well within the institution or inside the fence will be productive on the outside. And I think that you have great possibility of doing so from what you said today. We get fed a lot of lines and a lot of stories, but I do feel that you're sincere and to the best of your ability, doing the best that you can to be a successful and productive citizen. And so I would recommend a yes to the governor for commutation of your sentence at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. Ms. Schulte?
Yes, thank you. I have been sitting here listening to all of your testimony and am really in awe of how hard you have worked and how you've taken so much advantage of everything that there was to offer for you while you've been there. And I just appreciate that. And the work that you've done to be able to maintain your family and your daughter, that takes a lot of work, and you should be commended for that, to be a dad in that situation. So good job for you. I also really appreciate the fact that you've already reached out and have a therapist contact on the outside, that you could continue that work, because it will be different, as you mentioned, moving back home and having that adjustment period. But I do think, as my colleagues have said, that you have put the work into it, that you could really use this as a changing point. And that's the whole purpose of point of your time here. And so I am just thankful to have met you today. And I too will be supporting the recommendation and commutation.
Thank you, Ms. Schulte. Ms. Wynot?
Thank you, Ms. Ream. I have appreciated the application that we received. I felt it was thorough. I haven't seen a change from the application to the person, and that's important. I think we're hearing today the same thing that we have read in the applications. We're just getting to hear it firsthand and to meet you, and I appreciated getting to meet you. I am going to say that I echo all of the comments that Ms. Schulte has made. Those are very impressive. I also want to say that I'm looking for growth, I'm looking for maturity, and I'm seeing that, and I'm hearing that. I also note that you no longer are rationalizing your crime. You spoke to that directly. You volunteered. You're involved in pro-social activities to better yourself and move yourself forward. You didn't just end up there with your crime and not move forward. You picked yourself up and said, I want to be a better man and I want to be a dad. You've motivated your peers to be engaged in volunteer activities, which is a positive for those around you. That's a big deal. You have support. I've seen a letter of employment. It is my thought today that you have earned your way to my yes vote for commutation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wynot. You've heard my colleagues. I don't think there's a lot that I could add that would be different, but just know that I'm a fifth person who has heard you today. I think that you've shared your heart with us very, very well. My vote is also a yes, okay? I think, as Ms. Wynot said, that you earned my yes, okay? So the board's investigation will be submitted to the governor with a record of the votes and a transcript of this interview. Once the report is received by the governor, she will have 90 days to make a decision. So a recommendation, the record will reflect that Mr. Darden voted yes, Mr. Haskins voted yes, Ms. Schulte voted yes, Ms. Wynot voted yes, and Ms. Ream voted yes. Is there a motion to close the hearing for Jacob Noelting-Petra?
So move, Wynot.
And a second? All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, sign. Same sign. Okay, the motion is approved by a majority vote, and the commutation interview of Jacob Noelting-Petra is closed at 12:55 p.m.
Thank you all.
Well, thank you.